And welcome to Fox Football Daily. I'm Kurt Menefee, joined now by three guys who know their way around the National Football League. Kirk Morrison, Roland Williams, and Nick Ferguson. Guys, let's jump right into it. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about putting an NFL team in London in the near future, distant future. We don't know. Obviously, Jacksonville already playing 2 games a season there. Do you think it would be a good idea, we'll start with you, Kirk, to put an NFL team full-time in London?
I think so. They need a team in London. You want to expand the brand. That's what the NFL has done. If you look at, since Roger Goodell has been a commissioner, what has he done? He's expanded the brand. You have NFL on your phone now. You have it on your iPad now. You have it on your computer. You can take the NFL everywhere you want to go. Why not take it to Europe? Take it to China. Take it to Australia. Take it everywhere because the NFL is working.
This doesn't make sense for this particular reason. How do you lure free agents over to the UK when they have Houston, Atlanta, and Miami to choose from? The bad weather, the taxes. Why am I going to go over there?
Do they still pay over there, though?
They still pay.
Okay, if they pay,
now the taxes. Now you have to worry about the taxes. If you're a minimum salary player, what do you have to worry about? The cost of living. Your dollars are already going out the door as far as taxes, but the living in London is going to cost a lot.
This game is a business, and so I think we have to start there, man, okay? And every great business is always looking to expand market share, and the NFL, in my opinion, is a spectacular company. And so when you look at the TV rights in the United States, it's almost reached a saturation point where the NFL's on 3 days a week. Yep. The contracts are done until 2020. And when you look at the Super Bowl, our biggest game in the U.S., half the country's already watching it. But over in London, opportunity knocks.
But are you expanding at too rapid of a rate? Because now you're talking about, if you're talking a 16-game season in London, now you're competing with the Barclays Premier Soccer League.
No. See, this is one thing I say. The NFL has found a way. They found a way to make it work. We found that. Because you can now, break the season up a little bit for a team that plays in London. Maybe play 2 or 3 games back-to-back on the West Coast, 2 or 3 games on the East Coast. Make them have a 4-game homestand. They'll find a way. The NFL has shown that. But at the same time, you mentioned earlier about wages and how much it's going to cost. This is going to expand the brand. It's going to bring more money to the NFL. More worldwide, global money that can make the salaries go get a little bit bigger. Now, I'd take that chance. What if you're a guy and you're like, you know what? The only team right now that wants me is the team in London. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fly over to London.
Okay,
because I don't want to worry about that.
Here's the flip side of that coin. Think about it. Elway, Eli, what do they have in mind as far as a partnership? Remember, these 2 guys were drafted by a team, decided not to go. So if the UK drafts a guy and his girlfriend lives on the West Coast, I don't want to sign with that team. Can you imagine the controversy?
Okay, first off, we got to put this in perspective.
Okay.
The NFL has been working on this for a while, since 1991. If y'all go back and think about NFL Europe, the NFL was planting seeds then.
Yeah.
Casing out organizations, looking at countries, finding out what happened. It wasn't ready for a complete season, but it was a start. In 2005, they started the International Series. I played with the Raiders. I played in Mexico City. They were checking out the environment, finding out if it's going to work. And in 2007, it's done. In London, Wembley Center, it's selling out. And now when they go and do 2 games this year, in London, and by the way, our commissioner announced on Tuesday that both of those games are sold out. What's that tell you?
Nick, you play in NFL Europe, all right? So talk about the perspective of a guy who has to be on a team that's that far away from home, and also the difficulties of not being in the American society and what might be prohibitive for them to draw free agents and players over there.
You got to think about it. You 2 guys being guys that played on the West Coast, imagine having to travel from San Francisco over several time zones to play a game in the UK. Mentally and physically, you're not there.
They're doing it twice a season already.
But you're talking about 16-game season.
8 games are at home and 8 are away. When you put the schedule down, and all you got to do is look this up, it's all online. It talks about the actual mileage of transportation. If you had a team in London, it's similar to the 49ers. We play for the Oakland Raiders. We've done that already. It's not that bad. You're putting sauce on it. don't do that. Okay. Most importantly, it makes money.
You find a way. And this week, we saw the Jacksonville Jaguars. Guess what? They have 2 West Coast games. So what their head coach say? He said, you know what? We're playing San Francisco one week. No, they're playing Oakland one week, Seattle the next week. Mm-hmm. Let's just stay on the West Coast. Let's stay for a whole entire week. Don't worry about the traveling. See, that's where I said the arrangements can be made. This can work, and the NFL can all of a sudden be it's a global. Think about that Super Bowl when you watch it. It's in like 400 different languages. It's in everybody's Super Bowl party. You can make it work. I'm telling you, I want to see it.
Global expansion is good, but in slow gradients. You don't want to have a massive move right away.
Let me ask you this, Roland, then. Do you think the only way to get this done, or you believe that it can be done, but the best way to get this done, the best way to get this done is to expand the schedule. Maybe go to 18 games, which gives you maybe a few more off weeks, that kind of thing, to let guys adjust?
Kurt, I'm so glad you brought this topic up. This is a hot topic in the city right now. And I want to say that it depends on who you're asking what the best solution is. But I'm going to give the perspective of the folks that really matter in this whole thing.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm all ears.
The owners of the franchises and the NFL. No. Now, they believe that by adding and making an 18-game schedule, this does two things. It enhances the product, and it gives them more revenue. Now, you go back from a historical perspective, and you look at this, okay? Back in 1978, the NFL changed the schedule from 14 games to 16 games. In 1990, the NFL added a bye week. Why did they do that? They did it because they wanted to enhance the product and generate more revenue. Now, Commissioner Goodell has came on. He's talked. Now, I'm telling you now, I'm just saying. Commissioner Goodell has been on vehemently talking about how he hates the product of the preseason. The 4 games of the preseason are a terrible product. That means by taking 2 preseason games away, adding 2 regular season games.
It's not. You know what? This is where I'm coming from the player perspective.
Okay.
The player perspective right now. This is what
my employee.
No.
As an owner. Okay.
This is what the 18-game schedule does. It only gives you 2 preseason games. You both know, playing in the NFL, you need 4 preseason games. You know why? Because you need to develop talent. You need to develop these rookies
who needs
first,
4
second year.
preseason games?
Think about this. A guy like Victor Cruz.
Did you play in 4 preseason games?
I'm just telling you. What if Victor Cruz? He would have never even got an opportunity. 2 preseason games. You want your first year. You want your starters, your frontline guys to get that time in those first 2 games. You wouldn't get a guy like Arian Foster wouldn't have a chance. He was an undrafted free agent. Where do undrafted free agents come on the board? They're 4th, 5th string. They wouldn't get a shot. 18 games, that's what it does. It takes away 2 preseason games. It takes away jobs from guys who deserve them, guys who've been playing hard and won't get that opportunity. It's only 2 games. You know 2 games in preseason.
Get in here, Nick.
Okay, go ahead.
But Mr. Owner, Love, and Roland, let me give you a little something, put it in perspective. Think about this. There's no extra compensation. 16-game schedule, your salary expanded out.
There is extra compensation.
Where's the extra compensation? 53-man roster needs to move to 58, then the practice squad. You're talking about practice squad players. And like you said, if you have guys who are on the bubble, it's not enough time. And if you're a new GM or you're a new head coach, you have a short period of time. And as far as when you look at preseason OTAs and minicamp, yeah, you can use that violin all you want to.
Okay, what about the fans?
Can I come back and let's talk about the truth?
If you're a fan on a team and they're 2-14, maybe 1-15. They got to go through 2 more weeks of a team.
Wait a minute. What if you're 15-1? What if it was the other way? Wouldn't you want 2 more weeks?
Well, 2 more weeks. But we saw that teams, they rest their starters going into the playoffs. So now you're going to have 2 watered-down games left for a team that's not winning and a team that's winning. Is that what you want?
Can I ask both of you? Are you trying to sit up here and tell me with a straight face that the preseason is valuable and is exciting to you?
Here's why. It works with the timing and the rhythm for the quarterback and the offensive line.
But let's talk about revenue. If you make $50 million difference in a preseason game versus a regular season game.
You're still talking about money, but you're not talking about players. That's the product.
Do you guys understand that this is a business?
And who's the business?
I understand the business, but you know what? What about player injuries? 18 games. Roland, if you had to play 18 games, think about it. 18 games at the level that we've all played at. We played at that level. How did your body feel after 16 games?
What's the difference between 2 preseason games and 2 regular season games?
2 preseason games, like I said, in the beginning of the season, in preseason, that's what it's for, preseason. Every coach has what? A schedule. My body, I know that schedule. The first 2 weeks of training camp is what? Installing, getting the body adjusted to what's going to happen. That first preseason game, if you're a starter or a second-year guy, what do you do?
But you adjusted that schedule.
You get a couple series. That third preseason game, you get a first half.
But you need that schedule, especially in the NFL now, where they're talking about helmets and concussions, former players suing the league. You don't want to do that. It sounds great because it benefits the owners and their partners, and the fans get a chance to see 2 extra competitive games. Other than that, it doesn't benefit anyone.
Well, you just said it benefits the owners, it benefits the fans, and it benefits the partners.
But Roland, what's the product?
The product is football. Now let's go into the math.
And that's the players.
If you add 2 games,
if that's the case, you guys allow you could add 10 games, you could add 20 games, it could become baseball. At some point, the product does get watered down.
Why did it change? It was 10 games. I told you the history lesson of the National Football League.
But 16,
it changed to add to more. If you go 2 more games and you break that down, we're conditioned to play football. Okay? We're football players. So if you add on 2 more games, how many years would it take for that to equal into a whole nother year against your body?
What about
you're actually making their argument for them if you listen.
What I'm trying to tell you is that the product of the National Football League, if you're going to get paid to play, you're not getting paid, getting the same salary for an 18-game season.
What's wrong with the game right now? What's wrong with it right now?
Yes.
You got 16 games.
Can I go back?
We've had
because we're out of time on that, and I'm going to move on. Have to, for time purposes here, move on to the next subject. And Nick, I want to ask you, look at the upcoming season here. Which coach is and should be on the hot seat going into the season?
Oh, most importantly, your coach, Dennis Allen.
Why is my coach? Why? Why is my coach?
Oakland Raiders, think about it. Okay, 4-12 last season. You make Matt Flynn your starting quarterback. 2 starts in 5 years. Run DMC hasn't really been healthy. So you have no impact players on offense, no impact players on defense. But here's the biggest issue. San Diego, Kansas City, and the Denver Broncos all got better this offseason. Oakland Raiders did not.
The Oakland Raiders, the head coach is always on the hot seat. So we'll just go ahead and give you that one.
Call it whatever you want.
If I had to look at the word hot seat, that phrase in the dictionary, there would have to be a big fat picture of Rex Ryan from the New York Jets next to it. I just feel like it's getting so bad in New York that I wouldn't be shocked if he was fired before the end of the season or he just resigned. Here's why, guys. 2 things. He has no talent. You have a better chance.
No talent.
Listen.
He's got 2 first-round quarterbacks on the roster. I mean, somebody.
Listen to this. You have a better chance of winning season 13 of American Idol than you telling me 5 playmakers for the New York Jets.
Ooh, Antonio Cromartie is on one side. You got
is he a playmaker?
You got Santonio Holmes coming back.
Is he a playmaker?
You have one thing about the NFL, Roland. You know.
Wait a minute.
No. You want me to keep going with playmakers?
No,
David Harris at linebacker, which you got Stephen Hills, your 2nd-round draft pick a year ago. I mean,
are these playmakers?
They're playmakers because guess what? These were some of the guys that are on that team that went to the AFC Championship a couple years back.
They're not getting it done. They're not getting it done. And Rex Ryan is going to take the brunt. Now, all the reports are saying that Sanchez is playing terrible in OTAs. He's not looking good.
OTAs.
Geno Smith
is
OTAs? Young and not looking good. This is all you have. Because on the other side, you ask the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning how he looks, and they're saying he looks fantastic.
And Mark Sanchez is what he is. They went out on a limb when they drafted him in the 1st round.
Rex Ryan.
That's right. And
that's why he's on the hot seat.
And now, who else are you going to fire? You fired Brian Schottenheimer and Mike Tannenbaum. Who's left?
You know who has the hottest
Sanchez.
seat? The hottest seat in the NFL belongs to that big giant star in Dallas, Jason Garrett. That's a hot seat. You know why? Because what did they do this offseason? Jerry Jones did what? He paid Tony Romo. He made Tony Romo one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the game. So what does that say? I got my quarterbacks back. He didn't give Jason Garrett an extension, but he did bring in who? Monty Kiffin as your defensive coordinator. He brought in a lot of that staff from that old Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. So guess what he's saying? Hey, if you don't get it done this year, Jason Garrett, there's a guy named John Gruden that can slide right on into that coaching position and do what? Take the Cowboys back to greatness.
But you can't blame Jason Garrett for this because now he's not calling the plays. He's not calling the plays. Bill Callahan is calling the plays now.
Yeah, but understand this.
He's
still the face, though.
It's all on
Bill
him.
Callahan. Right. Another what? Who was Bill Callahan was whose assistant? John Gruden.
Well, let's be totally honest.
It's all set up for John Gruden to be the head coach.
That he'll do whatever he wants, whether the team is successful or not. They can go 10-6 or 8-8. If he feels that Jason Garrett didn't get the job done, he's going to fire him anyway and bring in Gruden.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. His seat is hot.
These are all some hot seats.
It's hot.
I agree.
No, it's hot.
Well, we know every year 6, 7, 8 guys wind up losing their jobs anyway, so all 3 of you could wind up being right by the time the season's over. Last thing, you mentioned Rex Ryan a little bit earlier, and we saw him this week They said he was running with the Bulls. All I saw was him climb over a fence as soon as they let the Bulls out. It didn't even look close. But it was one of his bucket list things. He said he wanted to do it. He went to Pamplona and did it. Each of you, go right down the line. Give me something that's on your bucket list that you'd like to accomplish before you get on the other side of the daisies.
I want to go to a World Cup match. I want to go to World Cup. I want to go to a Game 7 of hockey. I shouldn't even be telling you this, guys, but I'd never been to a playoff game in my NFL career. I never made it to the playoffs. Wow. So, I think that's on my bucket list, but I don't know if that's going to be able to be possible.
Do you see Roland? He had this hand, but they just switched to the one with the Super Bowl ring on it. Make sure that one gets shown.
It may not be possible. The hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and I never made it to a playoff game. So that was on my bucket list, but that might have to be etched out because I may not have that happen.
If you're in the Raiders uniform, it's not going to happen. So you might as well just scratch that out right now.
I just had to keep it real, man.
Can we go out before we even say? I want to say you had a spectacular career, and we're glad to have you as a part of the Raider family. Okay, now I go on my bucket list. Yeah. I have a few things, but since you said something that was worldly, I'll say something a little more intimate. I actually want to write 10 books.
10?
I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. It's been a little secret fetish of mine, for all these years. I've written 3 of them, and my goal is 10. And I want to show my little guys, no matter what your dream is, you can do it, even if you don't look like the average author.
Okay. That wouldn't be a blast off your 2 Super Bowl rings wanting to write 10 books, would it?
No.
We'll leave that for another episode. But for me, I had on my bucket list was to win a Super Bowl, but I didn't accomplish that. But for me, going to Rome, walking the Coliseum. Yeah. I think it's been a cultural thing for both me and my family. And when you're a kid growing up in the inner city, you only get dream about things like that. But when football awards you an opportunity, you have to go ahead and take it. So for me, that's my bucket list.
There's still time for you. Still time for you.
Not so much.
Kirk, we'll have to catch up with you later.
It's all right, man.
That should do it, guys. We'll be back with a lot more football right after this on Fox Football Daily. Stick around.